Hey, thanks for joining everybody. So in this week's video, we are going to go over the RF 100 to 500 in action along with the Canon R5 camera. We're going to show you some clips of me going out and capturing scenes with the R5 and the RF 100 to 500 camera. We're also going to use the 2x RF doubler some in this video. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind people, if you're not a subscriber, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. And if you like this video, be sure to click the thumbs up. One of the things that we're going to do in the next few weeks is have a subscriber giveaway. Once we hit 100, 500, 1,000, and 10,000 subscribes, we're going to actually be giving away different prizes. In the 100 subscriber giveaway, and we're getting close. I think we're about 90 subscribers now. We're going to give away this small pano that I took in Colorado of the greater sand dunes of Colorado. We actually did a video on that trip that actually showed us taking different pictures there. I'll put a link here or in the description if you want to check out our trip to Colorado, to the greater sand dunes area. It's very beautiful. So we're going to give away that photo at 100 subscribers. In order to be part of that drawing, you need to be subscribed, and you need to also go join our mailing list. I'll put a link in the description below on how to get to our mailing list. You can also just find it on the main page at the bottom at crouch.photos, crouch.photos, PHOTOS, crouch.photos, that website. At the very bottom, if you scroll down, you'll find the sign up for our mailing list. So we'll take entries from that mailing list to have a drawing in the next few weeks and give that pano to one lucky winner. Hey, so enough of that. Let's jump into the different scenes I captured with the R5. And keep in mind, I am learning also. I'm a new photographer, only about 2 years now. I'm enjoying the venture. I just wanted to share my learnings with you. So it's definitely not a scientific review. It's just my observations as I use the camera. I think you'll like it. Let's go ahead and jump into the different scenes. So as you can see here, I've got my Canon R5 with the 100 to 500 lens. I also have the Atmos 5 video recorder on it, so I can record as I take shots. It's a bit cumbersome, so you can imagine birds in flight are out of the question. So in this first scene, I'm at the local pond at a local suburb. The ducks are in the far corner there. So let's see if we can catch them with the lens from here. So before I go ahead and try to capture the ducks, I want to put it in servo mode, and I also want to put it on autofocus with face tracking, and let's set the subject to animal tracking. So I've got it on animal tracking, servo, and face autofocus. The video recorder and the camera itself together is quite heavy. As you can tell with me trying to balance it, trying to latch onto the ducks, and I finally latch on right there, and I'm so glad I did because that was an awesome picture. But notice how it's having a hard time just latching onto one of the ducks. It is finding that area of ducks, but it's having a hard time latching onto it exactly. Now I think this is because of the lack of contrast with the water and the ducks and the moving water. The moving water and the golden light reflecting on the water with the ducks makes it a little bit harder for it to latch on, I believe. Now, I think the autofocus, it needs high contrast. It also latches on to what's moving. So this is at 500 millimeters. When we get up to 1,000 millimeters, you'll actually see just how fast that water is moving. You'll realize it's actually moving pretty fast. Now you're going to see in the upcoming clip where the duck actually raises out of the water some, and it can actually latch onto its head and latch onto its eye. Towards the end, I'm going to show you a different setup where the light is a little bit different, fast moving water, and it latches right onto the duck. Now, this is my favorite picture. I'm so happy it did latch on to this particular duck. This turned out to be one of my favorites. I may actually put this out on the website, crouch.photos, if you want to check it out. I just love this photo. Very beautiful. So as I mentioned earlier, you can see as the ducks get out of the water, the camera and lens have no problem latching on to the duck. You can see here it's actually trying to latch onto the duck's head and even try to find the eye. See how it's searching the neck for the actual head and trying to latch onto its eye. So That's pretty cool. I'm very impressed. Look how it latches onto the head there. And I don't think it can find its eye per se, but it's definitely given it a good try. So here's a shot I took just now. I have to say, man, I am so impressed with the Canon R5 and this 100 to 500 lens. It's amazing. I just love it. It makes it almost too easy. Now, in this next scene, I've moved it up to 1,000 millimeters. Now, I was talking earlier about the water moving fast. Pay attention to that water. Look at that water go. Now, you'll see it's jumping around a lot. That's me taking the shot. But look at that water. It is moving fast. So that's kind of why it has a problem latching on to the ducks. I'm not surprised at all. But for all in all, it does an excellent job. I'm really impressed with Canon's autofocus. It does an excellent job. Got the duck's head, looking for the eye. Duck's head. And here's the shot I took there of all 3 ducks. Turned out pretty good, nice and clean. Look at the eyes. And this next shot is these 2 ducks cropped in. Again, you can see their eyes pretty good. Not too bad, pretty sharp. So as you can see here, I've got the ISO set to 6400. The ducks are kind of in the shadows there, so trying to brighten it up. Let me tell you, with the R5, I have no problem going up to 6400 or even double that. The R5 handles high ISOs remarkably well. I am largely impressed with the way the R5 handles higher ISOs, and the R6 I hear is even better. All right, so hey, in the next few scenes, you're gonna actually see me going to a different area, and we're gonna move to a little bit different scenery. We're gonna try to capture birds in trees. So if anybody's ever tried to capture birds in the middle of a tree limbs, in the middle of a tree, sometimes it can be somewhat easy, sometimes it can be very hard depending upon the wind and how much movement there is and how deeply buried the birds are in the limbs. So we're going to give that a try. You're going to see me actually show you 2 different ways of doing this. One is just plain manual focus, and one is actually using initial point for the autofocus. So let's check it out. Let's see how the R5 performs in this scenario. So here we go. We're trying to capture the bird with autofocus. Of course, it's in the tree limbs. It's not going to happen. That's to be expected. I mean, no camera's going to do a good job there. That's just too well hidden in those limbs. Now watch what happens when I manually focus. When I manually focus to get the limbs in focus that the bird is sitting on. Once you do that, boom, it latches onto the animal and even latches onto its head and eye. Look at that. That's really good. I'm very amazed at that. So thing to note here is, of course, autofocus not going to work well in tree limbs, especially ones that are moving. But if you get those particular layer of limbs in focus across the board, it will find the animal in the limbs. That's pretty amazing, I think. So here's the picture from that shot. Key thing to note here is look at how many details I was able to bring up out of the shadows. I'm very surprised that the shadow detail survived in that shot because I didn't have the right exposure. But look how well it turned out. Really good. Very happy with this picture. So I'm going to go into my menu system here. You can see I have server AF, I have the face and eye detection, and I have it set to animals. I'm going to go over to menu number 5, initial servo autofocus point for face tracking. That's what we're going to use. So click that, and now you'll see I have a point on my screen. Now the significance here is this point will be where the face tracking starts at. It won't jump around to the nearest motion on your viewfinder or anything like that. It's going to start at this point. Now in this scene we have a lot of limbs and a lot of, not too much motion, but a lot of limbs, and you'll notice that that square and that search area is just, for initial searching, is just too big. It doesn't help us in this case. In this case, in that previous case we just showed you there, actually doing a manual focus would have probably been better. Now in this case, let's see how it works out. There you go. Right off locks onto that eye. So once you got the square in that area and told it to start searching with the focus button, in this case I'm using back button focus, works great. Now here's the actual picture I took in that instance. Turned out really good. Now in this scene, we have a similar case, but a lot more limbs, and there's actually a lot of movement in the tree limbs there, a lot of wind. But the square was big enough to fit through there, latched onto the bird, and boom, got that eye, got the head. It's very cool. And you see how it jumped around to the different limbs there, so that were real close to that search point. But all in all, it's not searching first and the sides or anywhere else. It's searching right on that point first, which I think in this case actually helps a lot. Look at that. Not bad. A little bit easier than just using manual focus. I think in some cases you're going to have to use manual focus. In some cases this might actually help. Not having an initial search point with moving tree limbs and birds, not good. Doesn't work well. So I would recommend either this or manual focus in a case where you're trying to capture birds and inside of tree limbs. Here's the photo from that shot. Beautiful little bird. All right, so I'm definitely not an expert at this. I'm still learning, as you can tell. I'm having a good time doing it. So in this next scene, we're going to jump over to auto eye focus on people. Let's see how that works out. So in this scene, we have my son Nicholas. We're going to do auto eye focus. So it's latched onto his eye there. Let's see how it does. So here we go. He's going to walk behind a tree. Boom, latched on the tree. Recovered though. Got on him, back on his face. Got a tree in the way. Latches onto the tree. Latches on the tree. A bird feeder. Finally gets to him. Back on the tree again. And finally gets back to him. Now it does recover and get back to him, but kind of disappointing it's latching onto those other objects. See if it happens again. Latching onto the tree. Finally got back to him. Finding his eye, even with the glasses on. Pretty cool. Back on that tree again, and it's taking a long time. Bird feeder taking a long time to get back to him. So that's a little disappointing. But I'm not sure it's the autofocus fault. I think it's my focus. Let's try something a little different. So I'm gonna have him come back, and we're gonna try something just a little bit different. See if I can make it work a lot better. I focused on his face and eye. I quit focusing. Focused again. See how it stayed with him. So I'm doing back button focus. Stayed with him. So every time it got to an object in front of him, I quit focusing. I could still take pictures because I'm doing back button focus, but I quit focusing and it just stayed with him. It didn't force the focus to go to an inanimate object. It stayed on him. So just to explain a little deeper, one thing I learned with taking photos of my son there is if I keep the back button focus. So I have back button focus set up, which allows me to take shots with my front button and focus with my back button. So I don't actually have to focus as I take the shot. I can divide those two actions up. And I'll have videos in the future showing you how to set that up. But so I use back button focus. And one of the things I noticed was if I'm constantly pressing that back button focus, just like I would be if I didn't have back button focus and I was using the regular setup, if I'm constantly pressing focus, when it got over the trees, it would kind of latch onto the tree and stay there, right? And then I noticed when I quit trying to focus, when something was obstructing my view to my son, like the tree, if I quit trying to focus at that instance and just kept taking photos, everything was good. When he got past the obstacle, past the tree, it would latch right onto his eye again. So it's almost like when you keep that back button or keep that focus going, it's actually like it's trying to tell it to latch onto that tree and stay on the tree. It gets confused there. So that's one thing to know. And I don't necessarily blame the focus on that. That's maybe more of user error on my part. But that's something to know is if you want it to behave better is when you get that obstacle in front of you, when you get that obstacle in front of the person you're trying to take a picture of, then just let off the focus and it will stay latched on to the person once the person comes back in view. So if you leave the focus on, you're still pressing it, it's going to sometimes latch onto that obstacle and it may take longer to get back on the person. So something to note. Now in this next final scene, we're going to go back to capturing some beautiful mallards. This is the different scene that I referred to earlier where the light is a lot different. You're going to see it performs a little bit different, a little bit better than it did in the previous morning scenes. Let's go ahead and check that out. Okay, as I promised earlier, here is a scene of some mallard ducks. Again, this is a different pond and a lot different light. The light is a little bit different here. So you'll notice that, man, Even though the water is moving fast, it's not like the case in the other morning. The focus is grabbing the duck and staying on it. It's not touching the water at all. So in this particular case, I assume that it has a lot to do with the contrast between the duck and the water. In this case, the light is different. The water's moving just as fast. Look at it follow the duck as it raises up, follows its head. That was really cool. So it's doing a really good job. Notice people are actually walking in front of me too, and it's still staying on that duck. See, there you go. Stayed on the duck, didn't interfere at all, even with people walking in front of me, except that one time. Look at there. It took a little bit to get back on the duck. There we go. So that took a little bit. Now, here is more close up here. It's latching on its head. Great. Look at that. Not bad at all. Doing a good job. So not once have we seen it hit the water like we did in the previous duck captures in the morning scene. It's staying on the duck, staying on its head, and sometimes even on its eye. So doing a really good job. It's hard for me to try to keep that lens on the duck. The duck is moving so fast with the water. The lens with the recorder is somewhat heavy. Not bad at all. So did a great job. Notice how right here the eye is captured. So it found its head and found its eye. So that's how great the auto eye focus works for animals. It does a really good job in most circumstances. Here are some pictures from that scene. Pair of mallards. Got both the male and the female. Cute little couple. Hey, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please click that like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, click subscribe. It really helps this channel out a lot, and we would love to hear your feedback. Leave me a message below. I wanted to say I really appreciate the people who have watched the videos and who subscribed already. I'm really thankful for your time, and I hope the videos have been beneficial to you. I look forward to provide more content for you in the future. So don't forget, if you haven't gone out to the website to sign up for that first drawing, go ahead and do it, because we're going to have it. And as soon as we hit 100, we're going to have that drawing, and we're going to send those photos out. So definitely be sure to go to the website and sign up for that. Link is below in the description. Hey, thanks again for joining. I hope you have a great week, and see you next time. Bye.